Hi, what's your name?
Darshna Alexis Isaacs.
And what do you do?
I'm a student of the University of Guyana.
Thank you. I have some questions for you. First question: how do you think the oil money should be used to benefit Guyana?
Well, develop the health system, the roads, the schools, and other facilities that people will benefit from.
And with the upcoming election, how would you like to see the winning party do to benefit Guyana, the people of Guyana?
Well, um, benefit like students that have to travel to come to the university. That's a lot of money being spent to just travel. So making the university free will help them a lot in a way
Okay, free education.
for your education.
Okay. And do you think all the presidential candidates should put together on a public stage for have a debate?
Yes, I do.
Definitely. Okay. And what change would you like to see occur in the upcoming election? The whoever government in the next election.
Um, Changes, well, the crime rate is very high, so I think they should be working on getting that to be low, and also the suicidal rate. So that's another problem as well. So I would like to see that being improved.
What do you think can be done to end racism in Guyana?
Well, racism isn't something that could be ended. Everybody has their own opinion, and we can't tell them what to do exactly. So I don't think
You don't think it would be
it would be
So do you have any thoughts like how we can help it then?
help. Well, maybe we should like try to train students, children, sorry, from young to not like treat others differently just because of their skin color, their hair, because starting from young, when they grow up, it would help in a way.
And if you to be one of our future presidents of Guyana, right? What would be one of the changes you'll make or one of the difference you'll do?
Difference. Well, I stick with the whole suicidal thing and the crime rate. That's a really big problem because for the last couple months we've had a lot of crime rates and also school violence because the stabbing of that girl that was very traumatic. So I think that would be another thing that should be fixed. I would personally fix.
And what about road safety? When it comes to road safety, how do you think we can make our roads safer?
We can make our roads safer by I know people buy license. So most people that do it are the ones that probably fail the test or something, and well, that should stop because those are the ones mostly that cause most of the accident because they're driving really fast. And also, we should like get better roads because that's also another reason for yeah.
As a citizen, how do you think we can stop corruption?
We could stop corruption by um, well, I forgot this one.
You don't know.
No, I
And let me
don't.
skip to the next question. All right. How do you feel knowing that Ghana is one of the highest rates of bribery in the Caribbean?
Well, that's something we should be ashamed of, because if we're bribing, then we're not paying for the crime that we commit, and that's not good because we're gonna continue doing it, and it will keep corrupting the system more and more.
Okay. In recent news, how do you feel knowing that police was involved in crime against citizens?
Well, you feel unsafe because they're the ones that's supposed to protect you. They vowed to that duty, and them breaking it. Well, who are you supposed to trust when it comes to wanting help against a crime?
And suicide rate. Well, how do you think we can help to control it or reduce the rates of suicide to Ghana?
Well, the suicide rate is well mostly young adults. So my way of helping with that is probably by having them place counselors in schools or having persons from the welfare go into schools and help counsel them so that from young, they won't be very traumatized when they get older or as they grow.
Okay.
So,
And if you were to recommend somewhere for a foreigner to come and visit, where would you recommend and why?
Suicide Linden. It was a fun experience, and well, it was a healthy experience because the walk, it's very energetic. You need a lot of energy, so I recommend there.
Linden, okay.
Yes.
What would you say is your most favorite thing about Ghana?
My most favorite thing would be the cultures. They're not like others. I mean, there are other countries with them, but it's not that many. And well, it's nice compared to some.
It's better
Yes,
in Guyana.
it's better.
Okay. And what is the least favorite thing with Guyana?
um, well, our crime rate, the school violence, abuse, those are my least favorite things. Suicide rates and stuff like that.
And that's it. Thank you.
My name is Aditya Prashad.
And what do you do?
I am a student of the University of Guyana.
All right. I want to ask you a couple questions. Okay. How do you think that our money should be used to benefit the people of Guyana?
First and foremost, I think it should be using infrastructure. I really do, because I do civil engineering here, and I firmly believe that the country needs very large development in order to at least have the look and the resources and facilities to carry out certain uses for that money as well.
And with the upcoming election, what would you like to see the winning party do to benefit the people as a whole?
I would like the winning party at least try to implement what their mission statement is, because I haven't noticed any of the winning parties in the past years that I've at least been alive on this planet implement any of their mission statement ideas so far.
So, would you like to see the presidential candidate put together on one stage for public debate?
Yes, I would love to see that, as a matter of fact. I would love to hear his ideas.
Okay. And what changes would you like to see occur in the next government?
Well, like I said, mostly I'm based in infrastructure, but I'd also like to see developments made for school children. That, taken, for instance, the vouchers that they give out for school, I feel like that money should be more. I feel like also that ban on cars, which is, I think, is 8 years,
Yeah.
is much more. It's very ridiculous, because not everyone can afford expensive new cars.
Okay. And when it comes to racism, what do you think we can do to end it?
That's a very tough question, because some people are just born and bred into that culture. We are supposed to be one people, one nation, one destiny. But as far as I see, I'm seeing a very good scene, at least here in UG, where everyone is united, where people don't talk about politics and get very aggressive towards each other. And that's a start, I might say, because in the older days, people used to get very aggressive in terms of politics, and I see that's not a thing anymore, at least here.
And if you were to be the next president, what would you do to make a difference again?
Wow, that one hard, boy. The next president of
The future president. Let me say you're the
future president of Guyana. Like I said, I probably put the money wisely into development for the country, and also mostly what I've said to you is stuff that I would do myself and the stuff that I would like to see happen. So, like the vouchers, in terms of repairing schools, giving schools better facilities, better chemistry laboratories, because with this sort of money we need those kind of people. We need chemical engineers, all that kind of stuff, in order to make this country work as an oil producing country.
And how do you think we can make the roads safer?
Very, very good question. I will tell you that. Well, first things first, we need to implement more harsh road laws, because I feel like people get off quite easily in terms of those things. And also there must be consequences, more dire consequences, because I noticed that a lot of these busmen and stuff, well, yes, I understand you're trying to get to passengers faster and stuff like that, but it doesn't take it out of your time to be safe on the roads and just make sure that everyone is okay, because that's public transportation, and you have people's lives at risk in that bus, and they just tend to drive anyhow they feel.
And what are some of the important topics you think should be addressed in the election?
Important topics, I feel better usage of the budget that we have, better implementations to make sure that the money that we are, that we have for the budget is better used in general, because I think that many of it is put towards politicians and stuff like that in order to make their lives more comfortable, not the public of Guyana.
And how do you think, as a citizen, what you can do to end corruption?
Ending corruption as a citizen is a dream. It is a very big dream, because we don't have the power to do that. We can pick it, we can do whatever we feel like, but at the end of the day, it's in the politicians' hands, simply because they are the governing body. Whoever does win are the governing body of the country.
Okay. And how do you feel politicians be punished when caught in corruption?
I feel maybe what do you mean in terms of?
Like when you find out or they find out they get caught in corruption, like misuse of funds and stuff.
I feel jail time should be added to that because it's still fraud and corruption whenever you finish. A regular everyday Joe would go to jail for that.
How do you feel that Guyana is one of the highest rates of bribery in the Caribbean?
Well, it's not something that I'm not accustomed to. It's something that I have grown up seeing. So that's actually something that I did not know, however, and that's a very, very discerning fact, to be quite fair.
How do you feel knowing that police are caught in crime against citizens?
Honestly, that is also something that I was raised to understand, something that I've seen growing up. It's not something that surprises me at all, but I feel maybe harsh punishment should also be put into place for police that do citizen brutality because they're supposed to be the protectors of the country.
What do you think can be done to reduce the suicide rate through Guyana?
Better hotline, we have a suicide hotline, if I'm correct. I just think a lot of more awareness should be raised. People should be able to speak their minds to others in terms of getting help. Some clinics should be put up, and people just need someone to talk to. They need someone to listen to their problems. And I feel like doing that would at least take us one step closer to lowering the suicide rate because I think we do have the highest, if not the second highest in the world.
I don't know. Anyway, so if you were to recommend somewhere for a foreigner to come and visit, where would you recommend and why?
I would definitely say somewhere in the interior because our major draw is ecotourism. So I would say somewhere like Iracrama or like the Savannas. Rodeo is a good place to go just to see the untouched nature that we have here because that is our major draw.
And what's the most favorite thing about Guyana?
My most favorite thing about Guyana is Chinese food.
Chinese food.
Chinese food.
And what is your least favorite thing about Guyana?
My least favorite thing about Guyana? I would have to say nothing. I do quite enjoy living here.
Okay, so you have nothing.
I have no personal vendetta, nothing against anything here. If there's one thing that does bug me a bit though, it is the litter. There's a lot of litter in the city, and that kind of drives people away from the city. And we have beautiful architecture, we have the St. George Cathedral, and that is the tallest wooden building in the world. People should be able to go there and visit and be amazed.
Correct.
But this litter just drives them away.
What's your name?
Carlos Gonzalez. I'm actually executive of ENUG, if you guys have heard of it.
Okay, so you're executive at UG. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Executive of a new and United Guyana, the political party.
Oh, okay,
So I'm actually into politics. So.
Okay, well, very good. We're going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
So, how do you think the oil money should be used to benefit the people of Guyana?
Well, firstly, I think that there should be massive investments in certain projects. For example, infrastructure, healthcare, reliable energy, stuff like that. Basically, things to ensure a framework is set. So when the actual real money starts flowing in and we start getting those ripple effects, as they would say, right? We have that foundation to rapidly rise through the stratosphere.
Okay. And with the upcoming election, what do you want to see the winning party do to benefit the population as a whole?
I'm actually glad you asked me this question because as an executive of ANOG, I have a philosophy that's aligned with ANOG. So we're trying to force whatever party wins to force them to work with the other parties to form what we call a united government, because everywhere else in the world, right, when the winning party is in government, they invite the opposition. We're the only country where that doesn't happen because of the ethnopolitics and the racism that dominates the parliament. So that's what we envision, a united government where decisions can be made that represents all stratas of society, all different people.
And do you think all the presidential candidates should put on the stage for a public debate?
I actually do. I am a very strong proponent of presidential debates because I think that campaigning has, in recent years, been redundant. It's weak, it's ineffective. People are tired of hearing the same promises over and over again. We need a new forum where our leaders or our potential leaders can share their thoughts and ideas and actual critical debates. They can actually break down and engage in discourse on concepts so the people who actually know what they're talking about, who have some interest in what they're saying, can see their plans, can see can engage in a cost benefit analysis, if if you will.
Okay, thank you. What changes would you like to see occur in the next government?
Well, I would like to see better transparency. I would like to see more inclusivity. I would like a total renouncement of the old political system, this race-based politics, partisan politics, the whole ethno-political system that has been in place since independence. That needs to change. And first and foremost, constitutional reform. So that's the instrument that makes all this happen. That's the base instrument.
How do you think we can end racism in Guyana?
This is that's a tricky question because the nature of racism in our country is that it's ingrained into the common people. It is a result of the system that of governance that we have had over the past 54 years, right? It's divide and conquer mentality, and as I said, the common people, they grew up knowing these things. It's in their blood. So how do you take out what is essentially a part of someone? How do you get that out of them? It's a very difficult problem, and it isn't going to happen today or tomorrow or next year. It's going to take a decent amount of time, but we can begin by small changes, unlearning certain behaviors, renouncing certain things when we hear people say racist remarks, or when we hear something that someone is saying to someone else, we say, that's not right. That's not fair. Everyone, we are one blood. We are one people. So why is this happening?
How do you think we can make the road safer?
Well, road safety is another big issue. First of all, I think there should be stricter punishments, for example, in a magistrate's court, where you have mandatory sentences for certain offenses that you would see commonplace. For example, overloading, speeding, breaking traffic lights. I see these buses do a thing where they turn and then turn around to get back to the light. That's very dangerous. So the other aspect of that, the other dimension, is that passengers need to take a stand, right? Passengers tend to just be nonchalant and allow themselves to be choked up in these seats and all these things, but they need to realize that they're paying. These minibus drivers and these buses are a service, and they should hold them to a certain quality, to a certain standard.
Very good. What are some of the important topics you think should be addressed in at the upcoming elections?
Some important topics in relation to generally.
Yeah, generally.
Well, I think, like I said, the racism issue should be one. The issue of two divided people, like two halves of the Ghanaian society. Any successive government should be able to merge or have the people's interests at heart. All people, not just the section that they represent. That has been a big issue. It hasn't been addressed as yet by either of the two major political parties. So I would think, to my mind, that's a decisive issue that needs to be addressed before we can truly move forward.
And as a citizen, what do you think you can do to end corruption in Guyana? To help corruption, sorry.
I can call out the perpetrators of corruption just like how anyone else can. I can make them accountable. I can ensure that whatever system I am in, whatever organization I am involved in, that I am the balance, as I would say. You are the check and balance that in your organization against corruption. You ensure that your friends, your co-workers, your superiors, right, have your interests, and by extension, the overarching interests at heart, because you're there every day, right? This can only happen under your nose if you allow it to. So,
how do you think politicians should be punished when caught in corruption?
this is another interesting question, because as we have seen in recent years, there have been multiple scandals of corruption, but yet, in terms of actual investigations and tangible outcomes from these investigations, they have been few. So what I propose is for perhaps another autonomous entity, not SARA, mind you, not SARA, that is in charge of perhaps something like corruption ombudsman, right? Where you have a constitutional post that is entitled to investigate and collect all these records and do all these recommendations, but they also have powers to act upon it. They have powers to make recommendations, powers to actually remove people from certain posts, right? So this will require amendment to certain provisions, and it will require the implementation of certain pieces of legislation, etc. So
How do you feel knowing that Guyana is one of the highest rates of bribery in the Caribbean?
that's crazy. That's my initial reaction. That's crazy, but it's not surprising because, as you know, everybody when they want something, when they want a link is pacifying bread. That's our culture. But the thing with this, right, is that it allows this corruption. It permeates it. So essentially, this whole culture needs to change. I'm not sure how we're gonna go about addressing this because it's so ingrained into our psyche. But perhaps some institutional safeguards and coupled with incentives for officials who go periods of time without scandals or without any allegations, as well as punishments for those who have been found guilty of certain things, severe punishments.
Okay. And in recent news, how do you feel knowing that police were involved in crime against citizens?
Police brutality and police misconduct is a big issue here as well. It has been for many years. The police force, in my opinion, Minke Huvex, they're corrupted. That's blatantly obvious, right? But the underlying factors that contribute to this are not what everyone knows, right? The police are grossly underpaid, they're overworked, they don't have half of the benefits that police in other countries have. So how do you want your crime fighting population, right? Your people that are supposed to protect you. How do you want them to do their job when you're not ensuring their best interests at heart? You're not providing the system that ensures that they are taken care of, because it's a very difficult job. You're there out there in the sun all day, you could get shot, you get people knock you down, all these things. A policeman's life is very difficult, and I can see why most of them or some of them would turn to these nefarious activities as a means to get by in today's society.
And what do you think we can do to help reduce the suicide rate through Guyana?
Well, suicide is linked to different mental issues, is linked to a lot of, what do I say? It's another issue that's overlooked here because mental health is a grossly taboo subject in our society for some reason. Beats me, I don't know why. But to address the issue of suicide, you would have to have an institution in place that addresses the underlying factors that causes it or that put people at risk for it. I'm not sure what those are right now. Possibly my friend may be able to help you. He's a medical student, so. But yeah.
Alright, and if you were to recommend somewhere for a foreigner to come and visit in Guyana, where would you recommend and why?
I would recommend. Where would I recommend? Possibly city of Georgetown. I mean, it's a unique blend of historical and modern, and you also get to see both the good sides of Guyana, if I will, as well as some of the bad sides. I don't think when we're selling our country, we should be too committed to one side. Some people just only say the bad things about us. Some people only say the good things. We should be realistic. And we should also make foreigners cautious of the environment while at the same time evoke their sense of appreciation for the beauty that is our people, the beauty that is our country. And that's what I think is important. And Georgetown kind of embodies that to me. The mix of the nightlife, the mix of what's call it, historical monuments, the places you can go and visit, the tourist sites, stuff like that.
Okay, and what do you see the most favorite thing about Guyana?
The food, the people, the energy. Those are my three main favorite things in that order.
And your least favorite things?
Well, the politicians, the political system, the blatant racism. That's all nasty things about our otherwise beautiful country.
What's your name?
Kishan Samaru,
And where are you from?
LBR.
Okay. What do you think the oil money should be spent on to benefit the people of Guyana?
What I think it should be spent on. Well, I think education is probably the one thing we need to focus on a lot because Guyana has a lot of educated individuals, no matter how you look at it, and we're suffering from a pretty big brain drain. A lot of people who are qualified or want to study a particular area are migrating from Guyana to go somewhere else because they know that the benefits there are way better. I also think that it should at least be some amount of pay increase for these individuals because when you look at it, if you compare gross income and expenditure to other places, ours is definitely on the low end. So there's not a lot of spending power in the first place. Yeah.
And with the upcoming election, what do you want to see the winning party do to benefit the population as a whole?
What do I want to do to see do it? Well, to be quite honest, I think that one of the big things that people are talking about right now is the oil money. And I think that they need to implement some amount of tax on these big corporations because there's a recent article that was published that stated that Guyana is slated to lose 55 billion US simply from not taxing and our crappy royalty deals. So yeah, if they could definitely tackle that, Guyana can definitely flourish because we have the oil reserves. We have what is necessary to be one of the big countries. We just need proper management.
So do you think all of the presidential candidates should put on one stage for a public debate?
Definitely, because one of the things I've noticed personally is that when political talks come about during election time, it's never about who can improve, but who belittles the other one more. So you never really have a constructive conversation between the two parties, at least from what I've seen. It might be completely different, you might have seen something else, but from what I've seen, it's a dirty game.
Okay. And what change would you like to see to occur in the next government?
What changes I would like to see? I mean, other than what I was talking about with salary increases, I think that one of the things we need to focus on a lot is our health sector, particularly the mental health sector. No matter how you twist and turn it, we have the highest suicide rate per capita in the world, and we're number one. South Korea is next. I don't think it should be a case where the suicide rate is this high. It's just that there's a lot of things ingrained in Guyanese with regards to that. So I think that some amount of promotion for mental health is one of the things I would love to see.
How do you think we can end racism in Guyana?
All right. So racism is not something ingrained in people. It's something learned. Whatever you learn, you can't unlearn. The racial division in Guyana is something that you see mostly in the older folks. I mean, me personally, I see a lot of the younger folks aren't as racially divided. I think it's a slow process, but we're definitely along the right path to ending it.
And if you were to be one of the future presidents, what is one of the things you would do to make a difference in Guyana?
Oh boy. One of the things I would definitely like to do is put stricter laws on other members of parliament. Because no matter how you twist it and turn it, it's very easy to find loopholes and get away with corruption. So I would like to put more stringent rules in that area to try and curb that. It might not come to an end, but it would definitely minimize it.
When it comes to road safety, what do you think we can do to have safer roads?
All right. With regards to safer roads, I think that the penalty is far too small. I think that if you were to end this mayhem on the road, you definitely need to up the fine for that. Because if you can act like a child on the road, you might as well get treated like a child on the road. So it really needs to hurt.
And what are some of the important topics you think should be addressed in the election?
All right, so the big thing is definitely with oil, with our health sector. Other than those two, I'm probably not the best person to ask.
Okay, and as a citizen, what do you think you can do to end corruption?
People fail to realize that people have power. So we can definitely hold politicians accountable for the things they do. It's just on us to band together and help make that happen.
How do you think politicians should be punished when caught in corruption?
They definitely need to face the brunt of the law, and I think jail time as well as hefty fine should be a part of that.
And how do you feel knowing that Guyana is one of the highest rates of bribery in the Caribbean?
Oh boy. So it's definitely not something great. Uh, there's a lot of work to be done in that area. Um, like I said, it would definitely be on the people as well as a very kind politician somehow making it into power. But it's going to be very hard to change that.
And in recent news, how do you feel hearing police are involved in crime against citizens?
That's no surprise to me at all. Um, I think one of the things that might help to curb it is definitely better working environments with regards to pay and the way they're treated and so forth. Because if they're properly incentivized for their work, I think that would curb the amount of corruption in the police force.
And what do you think we can do to help reduce the suicide rate through Guyana?
All right. With regards to that area, mental health is taboo no matter how you look at it. One of the things that I personally implement with my friends is trying to have a safe space for my friends to talk to. I would open up about something that's bothered me, and that would, through a ripple effect, cause them to open up to whatever's bothering them about me, and we would try to give some sort of plausible course of action. But the thing that I'm trying to say is that to help end that, people need to be open and comfortable talking with mental health. You can't care about what your granny or your mom saying. They've lived their lives. You don't want to live your life suffering. So the most you can do is try to talk about it and see a professional.
Excellent answer. And if you were to recommend somewhere in Guyana, a foreigner to come and visit in Guyana, where would you recommend and why?
All right, so first let me say not the tongue. Like, our populated areas are unsafe. It's one of the most unsafe in the Caribbean, no matter how you twist and turn it. Our selling point is for sure the countryside and our ecotourism. For like the hinterland region, for sure you have Iwakurama and so forth. We have the waterfalls. People love that. Like Kaieteur is the largest single drop waterfall in the world. And another thing is definitely the savannas. That would be like Latam and so forth. Okay. In addition to the landscape, rodeo is definitely one of our biggest selling points.
And what would you say is one of your favorite things about Guyana?
Definitely our ecotourism. I've never personally been to anywhere other than Latam, but the things that I've seen in Latam, the people there, I love them. They're all very nice people. The site is beautiful. The air is clean. You can actually lie down on the grass and actually see stars. You don't see that in town.
Okay, and what is your least favorite thing about Guyana?
Definitely crime and political corruption. Oh, and not forgetting the racial division. You really can't see color in this day and age.
All right, thank you very much. That's it. Hey, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Courtney Rodriguez. I'm from Georgetown.
What do you do?
I'm an international relations student, third year at the University of Guyana.
All right, very good. I'm going to ask you a few questions. First one, how do you think the oil money should be used to benefit the people of Guyana?
I believe the oil money should. There are the three very important things that we need. We need infrastructure, we need education, and we need better health care. All right? Under infrastructure, we have schools, police stations, fire service outposts, and these other things. These installations, not just in Georgetown and the development of Georgetown, but other regions as well. Education institutions, tertiary. The University of Guyana has 2 campuses. And then IDC has a third branch. We need more University of Guyana campuses in the entire country. And easy access to tertiary education, as well as from the remaining levels of education. All levels, we need more of that. And third, access to medical care. Currently, our mental health address, the address of mental health issues here in Guyana, is poor at best. Right? We currently have, I do believe we have 3 qualified psychologists working here in the entire country. Yeah, it's shocking, right? That's just one aspect of medicine that we need to deal with. There's Dr. Doki, who's working brain surgeon here in Guyana, and he's so busy, right? So we need better access to medical care and better training for medical personnel and the public servants as well. Something else that needs to be done is, I don't know how it can be done, but we really need to increase the minimum wage here in Guyana. Currently, it's $44,200 per month. That's the lowest. That's the lowest a Guyanese can be paid by a private sector firm, by anybody actually. But we need to increase that, and as well, the PAYE should be decreased at some point and in some area. So infrastructure is a big thing. The road in Letem, Madi Road, these various places that would have had high traffic are vital installations to the country. Okay. So we need those.
And with the upcoming election, what would you like to see the winning party do to benefit the people as a whole?
I'd like to see them keep the promises, because we hear these various parties have so much they want to do. All right, and even if they can't keep the promises, be honest with the people. Be honest and say, hey, we set this on our campaign trail. When we got into office, this was the result. We saw this being used to attack the current administration, where they said they provide jobs, and when they got into to office, they realized that they could not be able to do such. Right? So we're going to call you out on your lies, not during election time as another party, but I'd like to see them to fulfill the promises, or at least be honest about why you can't get it done, or find a way, engage the people, because it's not just you ruling. We put you there to rule. You are a representation of our beliefs and our system of management. So that's important.
So do you think we should get all the presidential candidates and put them on a public stage for a debate?
Oh, that's very good. Yeah. Yes. Very yes. Because there are some presidential candidates I find funny, and there are some of them I find intriguing. But what I've noticed is that there is an influx of parties and uptake in the interest in this election, and I do believe it has a lot to do with positioning and networking, because everyone wants to be in the right place at the right time when this aisle starts flowing, right? So that's important for me.
And what change would you like to see occur in the next election, in the next government?
I would like the previous wrongs to be righted. As of now, we currently have people on remand in prisons for over 2-3 years. Haven't seen court dates. We have missing court cases going on. We have wanton disregard for very simple laws like littering. Right? So I'd like to see those things be ironed out, because the past has led us to the present, and the present will eventually become history as we move into the future. So every decision is very important, and so those wrongs, to right those wrongs, are very important for me. It gives the people a sense of accomplishment in we said we're going to do this, and we did it, as well as right the wrongs. And the wrongs can be very, very difficult to right, but two major things can be done. Is to push more attention toward, because I don't hear it, toward the people of different label people, mental illness, education, and we also economic development and entrepreneurship. Right? These things are very important. They help the country to grow, and the fact that you're utilizing all the human resources, including the people of different abilities, is very important as well. Yeah.
And when it comes to racism, what do you think we can do to end it?
We need to stop talking about it, but not in the sense that it's not addressed, but in a sense that racism is not approached in a way that it is part of a Guyanese culture. We don't say, oh, we're Indo-Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, East Indian. How are you East Indian and living in Guyana since your birth? You've never been to India. How are you African here in Guyana? You've never been to Africa. You're Guyanese, and we need to start addressing each other on a level where we're Guyanese and start to see each other as Guyanese, as people, rather than just a skin tone or culture, because culture is real. And you can't differentiate persons based on culture. But racism will end if the topics change from being race, start being culturally addressed, and the mode of total respect, because there's one simple word that's very underestimated here in our society: respect for our culture, lifestyle, choices, respect for each other. Because if you respect my life and I respect yours, we have no problem.
And if you were to be the future president, what is one of the things you would do to make a difference in Guyana?
Well, there are various things I'd like to do to make a difference in Guyana. It's actually my black book. I should go get the book. But one of the few things that I find very important here, above all, is to get the people more involved in learning and respecting each other. Respecting each other. That's just Sin Cara did it in Africa. we could say Nelson Mandela had a serious part to play in doing that as well over there. Um, Walter Rodney would have taken a step to address it on some level here in Guyana. But as we go along, we see presidents continuing this branch of systemic segregation that has been left to us as inheritance from the British. We don't need that anymore. You know, we need to reinvent ourselves, and that's something as a president I would push here in Guyana. I would like to influence the people to become more involved in understanding and respecting each other. And we can go forward as a country from there. Together we can do more.
Okay. When it comes to road safety, how do you think we can make the roads safer?
The roads, infrastructure, I spoke about infrastructure earlier, right? So infrastructure is one big thing. Potholes and these other things at night, they may seem like small things in the day, but if you have these things on the streets and so on, you can have yourself in trouble. Drinking and driving is your substance abuse overall in Guyana, and driving is a serious issue. So addressing those from a level of training, because you need to be able to communicate to people on a certain level that they are willing to cooperate with the law. They don't see the law as something to bind them, but something to protect them. So changing that perspective is important. But we can make the road safer by developing the infrastructure, improving the infrastructure, right? Training the road safety personnel, that is police officers, firemen, everybody who is involved in that at some point to some place, right? And educating the public, because I know for a fact there are many people who are driving cannot tell you what the 5 C's are. People who are walking do not know it either. But it needs to be more just like, you can sing these political ads right now. You should be able to tell each other, hey, that's illegal, you can get a couple of years for that. To keep each other in check. And that's information is so powerful, it can change everything.
What do you think is some of the important topics we should be addressed at the upcoming election?
The presidential debate or the election?
Like some of the topics that you think should be addressed and that they're not addressed in the elections.
They're not addressing the differently able persons. They're saying about economic development, the taxes, constitutional reform should be addressed, because our constitution is it's aging. It's aging. However, constitutional reform, differently able persons, mental illness, road safety, economic development in the sense that every Guyanese is willing to contribute and able to contribute, racism. The use of race in division for politics, racial division in politics, should also be addressed, and integrity of the roster, right? Additionally, finally, and not, most importantly, is the motives. Address these motives. What are your motives for doing this? Why do you want to be in office? What can you expect from you in office? Those are very important things.
And as a citizen, what do you think you can do to end corruption or to help end corruption again?
We have a culture of corruption, I must say, from the lowest level of society to the very highest. In order to end it, we have to change how it is viewed, first of all. As a citizen, we need to understand that it's wrong, and how being wrong negatively affects the society as a whole, and not just myself. So as a citizen, spreading information would be my part. Hey, you shouldn't take bribes because of X, Y, and Z, or you shouldn't not speak out when you see something happening because of these reasons. That ripple effect is taken very lightly here in Guyana. So spreading information as a citizen, that's what I do, and that's what I will continue to do.
And how do you think politicians should be punished when caught in corruption?
I think we should take the route China takes.
What's that?
The Chinese politicians are made to tour maximum security facilities, that's prisons, and just when they're being led into office, they're made to tour the facilities, and just to show them what awaits them when they're caught in corruption. Sure. They're also executed in some parts of the world. In China, I believe, So there must be a zero tolerance for corruption.
I second that. How do you feel when Guyana is one of the highest rates of bribery in the Caribbean?
I don't feel surprised about it at all. I do feel very saddened by it because, as I said, the ripple effect is not taken into consideration here by many Guyanese, and it's just a case of this is me for me. It's not me for Guyana. So I feel saddened but not surprised.
And in recent news, how do you feel when you hear police who are involved in crime against citizens?
Repeat that, please.
How do you feel knowing that when you hear police who are involved in crimes against citizens?
I feel as if we have taken a route to use the legal systems that were made to protect us. They're being used to attack us. And that's something we need to hold the officers accountable for as well, right? We have it happening in China, in Japan, with the protests, right? We have it over in Myanmar. We had it in Pakistan, in Iran. We had it in the USA with the police over there, right? We continue to see this trend around the world, and it's very difficult for the people to understand that governments should not be the ones to drive fear into the people. People should drive fear into their governments. All right, so that's very important for us to understand, and it's sad. It's sad for me to hear, and I know it's happening. I know it's been happening. It's just a case that to collectively address that, there has to be a galvanized force of the people who are willing to take that risk and take that leap. And I know, and the sad thing, in the very slim areas of desperation are when you see heroes appear. So I really hope we don't get to that point. But again, disseminating the information is very important to galvanize that force and having people aware that these things are happening, because we in Guyana, we are very lacking for the sharing of information.
And what do you think can be done to help reduce the suicide rate in Guyana?
We need to seriously address our culture as it relates to mental health, mental awareness, mental illness. That's a big. Our culture needs to be more inclusive of people of different sexual orientations. That's very important. How men are culturally groomed is also important. The change for that is important. You just can't tell men, hey, you're a man up. That's the only advice you get. And then you look at the women, and the women have support systems from the very ground up. If they cry here at school, somebody comes and say, hey, what's up? Why are you crying? They go home, they hear advice from family members and so on. With men, if you cry, hey, man up, that's not. Right? So the culture needs to change. And that change of culture needs to come with disseminating of information from the very top. I told you, if we could sing these political advertisements right now, we should be able to sing these things as well. When with how violently they're being pushed, from the very top. So that's important.
If you have to recommend somewhere for a foreigner to come and visit, where would you recommend and why?
I'd recommend visit Ghana.
Yeah, in Ghana, which part of Ghana you'd recommend to visit and why?
Oh, you should visit our waterfalls, all of them. Visit all of our waterfalls. What I would say to foreigners coming here, though, be prepared for a little change in the sun, and we are very welcoming to foreigners. We're very, very welcoming to visitors over here. Be prepared for change in the temperature, and be prepared for change in the diet as well. And try our food, try our sites, but visit our waterfalls. Our flora and fauna, to me, are one of our assets here in this country.
Okay. What do you say is the most favorite thing about Ghana?
Mine? My most favorite thing? Okay, so as an international relations student, I've learned new favorites about Guyana, and I would say that our culture is my most favorite thing. Reason being, because in some other countries where you have plural societies, those are societies, they different races, different cultures, and so on. They don't intermix, they don't promote each other, and they're not as united as we are. Yes, we have issues, but we are a beacon for other countries with other issues. So maybe we're not that bad off, but we have room for improvement. But that's my favorite thing about Guyana. Our culture, our unity is just beautiful. It has room for improvement, but it is still my favorite thing.
And what would you say is the least favorite thing about Ghana?
My least favorite thing is the corruption. It really holds us back. It really keeps us in a place where we're not able to move forward properly as a country. We don't have the numbers. We're not a big country with many people. But so that specific issue is keeping us back in the sense that we're being controlled by a specific thing, right? Resources, opportunities, whatever. But corruption really keeps us back, man.
That's it. Thank you very much. I like your answers.
Guyanese thing, this a Guyanese thing. Ring ting ting, this a Guyanese thing.